The sun hung low in the pale afternoon sky, its light cutting through the haze that hovered over the edge of the city. Officer Daniel Harris drove slowly past the old industrial district, a place most people avoided. Broken windows glinted like shattered memories, weeds grew through cracked pavements, and the silence felt almost alive, whispering stories of things long forgotten. He was supposed to be heading back to the station after a long, uneventful patrol. But fate had other plans. Something caught his eye, a flicker of movement near the fence line of an abandoned lot filled with piles of trash and twisted metal. At first, he thought it was just a stray dog. But then, as he stopped the car and stepped out, he saw a small, fragile figure lying motionless near a heap of discarded plastic and rusted cans. His heart skipped. The world seemed to freeze for a moment. It was a little girl. Barely breathing. Covered in dust and dirt, her thin arms looked like twigs, her dress faded and torn. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Thread. Your small action can help spread awareness and inspire hope in hearts that need it most. Daniel's pulse quickened as he rushed forward, dropping to his knees beside her. "Oh God," he whispered under his breath. The girl's lips were cracked, her face pale and hollow. Her body trembled slightly, a faint sign of life. He gently pressed 2 fingers to her neck and felt the weakest flutter of a pulse. She was still breathing, but barely. Her body told the story of hunger and neglect, ribs pressing through her skin, her arms cold as stone. Around her, scattered food wrappers and broken bottles hinted that this place had been long forgotten, just like her. He quickly radioed for medical backup, but before he could finish, something on the ground caught his attention, a small, dirty piece of paper tucked under her arm. Carefully, he slid it out. The edges were torn, the ink smudged, but he could still make out the words written in a shaky, childlike scrawl, "If someone finds me, please don't leave. Mommy said she'll come back." His throat tightened. He felt a wave of emotion crash through him like a storm. This wasn't just a case, it was a cry for help that had been left unanswered for too long. Tears welled in his eyes as he looked around, hoping to see some sign of whoever had abandoned her. But there was nothing, only silence, emptiness, and the distant hum of the city that had moved on without her. Daniel lifted her gently, wrapping his jacket around her tiny body. She was lighter than a bundle of clothes. As he held her close, she made a faint sound, a whimper, soft as a breath. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment, cloudy and unsure. "It's okay," he whispered shakily, "you're safe now." But inside, his heart was breaking. How long had she been here? How could anyone leave a child in such a place? The paramedics arrived minutes later, sirens cutting through the heavy air. As they laid her on the stretcher, Daniel noticed something strange, a bracelet on her wrist. It was handmade, with tiny colorful beads spelling a name, Lily. He couldn't help but stare at it. Something about that name pulled at his memory. As the ambulance doors closed and sped away, he stayed frozen, holding the little note in his hand, the words echoing in his mind, "Mommy said she'll come back." Back at the station, Daniel couldn't shake the image of Lily's face. He stayed late into the evening, digging through missing child reports. Hours turned into the night, and coffee cups stacked beside his computer. And then, finally, he found it, a case from almost 2 years ago. A woman named Claire Turner had reported her 6-year-old daughter missing after a fire destroyed their home. Claire had been injured, left in a coma for months. When she woke, she had no memory of what happened that night. Authorities believed Lily had died in the blaze, but her body was never found. Daniel's hands trembled as he read through the report. The location of the old lot was less than a mile from that burned house. Could it be possible? Could this little girl be Lily Turner, the child the world thought was gone? He stared at her photo, the same eyes, the same faint dimple near the corner of her mouth. His breath caught. It was her. He dialed the hospital where the mother was still recovering, his voice unsteady as he explained who he was. The nurse on the other end was silent for a long time before whispering, "Claire's been asking about her daughter every day." The next morning, Daniel went to the hospital where Lily had been taken. The doctor said she was stable but malnourished, dehydrated, and suffering from shock. When he entered her room, she was sleeping peacefully for the first time, clutching the same piece of paper he'd found beside her. Her hair was brushed, her cheeks still pale, but there was a softness now, a fragile thread of hope beginning to appear. As Daniel stood watching her, he couldn't hold back his emotions. He stepped into the hallway, leaning against the cold wall, and for the first time in years, he cried openly. He had seen tragedy before, car crashes, crime scenes, loss. But this was different. This was innocence abandoned by the world, yet still breathing, still fighting. That's when he made the call that broke him completely, the one that made him dial 911 again, this time in tears, not from fear but from overwhelming emotion. He asked dispatch to connect him directly with Claire Turner. When the mother arrived hours later, supported by nurses, Daniel watched as she entered the room trembling, tears streaming down her face. She froze when she saw her daughter lying there, alive. "Lily," she whispered, her voice breaking. The little girl's eyes fluttered open, and for a long, heart-stopping second, they just stared at each other. Then Lily reached out her tiny hand. Claire fell to her knees, sobbing, holding her daughter close as if she would never let go again. The room filled with quiet sobs, even from the nurses who had gathered by the door. Daniel turned away, wiping his eyes. He stepped outside into the sunlight, the same pale daylight that had shone over that abandoned lot the day before. But now it felt different. The world seemed lighter, as if kindness had managed to push through the cracks of despair once more. In the days that followed, Daniel visited often. Lily slowly began to smile again, her laughter returning like a long-lost melody. The hospital staff called her the Miracle Girl. News outlets picked up the story, not just of the lost child found, but of the officer who refused to look away. Yet for Daniel, it wasn't about headlines or praise. It was about one small soul who reminded him why he had chosen this uniform in the first place, to protect, to serve, and to never stop believing in hope. Weeks later, as Lily was discharged, she gave Daniel a small, colorful bracelet identical to the one she wore. "So you don't forget me," she said softly. He smiled, his heart full. "Never," he replied. The city continued its rhythm, cars moving, people rushing, unaware of the small miracle that had just unfolded in one of its forgotten corners. But for those who knew, it became a reminder that sometimes, even in the darkest places, humanity still breathes. And sometimes, all it takes is one person, one act of kindness, to bring light back into a life left behind. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Every story we tell aims to remind the world that compassion still exists, and your support helps us keep spreading it. Before we end, we'd love to hear from you. What did you feel while watching this story? Please comment below and let us know your thoughts. Because sometimes, the smallest act of care can save a life that the world forgot to see.